Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast, and today will be our first NFL episode in actually quite some time. I was actually going to wait because, I was going to do a bunch of NFL episodes right after the Super Bowl had ended, and do pre-off season, off season previews for all the teams, who's a free, what they need, who can they retain, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really do that in time, and by the time I actually started trying to do the videos, a million straight trades started just flying everywhere. So I gave up on that. I just said, you know what, that ain't gonna happen. I'm not even gonna get all this stuff in before. I'm not even gonna be able to do all the teams before something else happens and I have to change it all over again. So I'm just going to wait until everything until the draft, and then I'll do all my off-season stuff after the draft. Because theoretically, by that point, most of the bigger free agents should be signed somewhere, and by that point, I think everyone that you would expect to be gone will be gone. So I was gonna wait until then to do reviews for all the NFL teams, but we still have a lot of trades that have happened since that point, and so I'm going to, because there's been so many deals, I'm going to grade all of these, and because there's been a lot of big ones as well, and I'm gonna go over those. This has all the trades that have happened in this league year, in the year 2022. So I'm gonna go over all these trades and. The majority of some of them won't be that big of a deal, and I'll kind of skip over like this first one. Chase Winovich for Mac Wilson. I mean, that's a big, really almost, that's pretty much just a nothing, so I'm not even really going to bother going over that one. But I mean, getting Chase Winovich for the Browns is nice. Other than that, it's not that big of a deal. This is an interesting one. New England Patriots trade away Shaq Mason, which was one of Brady's protectors over in New England, to Brady and Tampa Bay. And they'd only get in for return a fifth round pick. And Shaq Mason's still a very good guard. So I really don't understand why the Patriots would just send away Shaq Mason for pretty much just nothing. But that's exactly what New England did. And that's a steal for Tampa. So yeah, I'll give Tampa an A and then New England a D because that was not a special deal. But other than that, there wasn't really much else. There's not a lot to unpack in that one. This one, I didn't even know this actually took place, but Houston gets Blake Cashman for a 2023 sixth round pick. Whatever. This was an interesting one. So here's one of the first bigger trades. I think this happened after one of the deals I'm going to go over. So I think this is a little off on the timeline, but or maybe it didn't. I don't remember. But the Indy Colts would trade away after 1 year of Carson Wentz. They would give up, and they would trade away Carson Wentz, their own second round pick this year, and a seventh round pick this year. In return, they would get a 2022 third round pick, of which can become a second if Wentz ends up playing 70% of Washington's snaps come next year. Washington's 2022 second round pick, and then a 2022 third round pick. So essentially, the big meat of this deal, it was Carson Wentz for two third round picks. Um, Obviously, the Colts have given up on Wentz already. 1 year later, he doesn't get the Colts to the playoffs. They give up. They send him out. And well, I don't necessarily blame them, but I don't understand Washington's side of this deal because you had Taylor Heineke, who had been honestly decent, and unless you had something that was going to be significantly better than uh, than Heineke, then why make the deal? And honestly, the way that Wentz has been playing, he's not significantly better than Taylor Heineke. and he costs a lot more money. So I don't understand where the Commanders, because that's what they are now, what the Commanders are really thinking with this. I still say Washington because I still think they're the Washington football team every once in a blue moon. But this is a really weird deal, I think, for Washington. For Indy, I don't really like this for either team because at the time, I mean, it looks better for the Colts now. And I'll get to that later. So for Indy, I'm guessing give them like a B plus for this one because they got 2 third-round picks, which is nice. And I mean, if Wentz ends up starting for Washington and plays some games for Washington, they could end up getting a second out of that, which is obviously very nice. And for Washington, I give them like a C minus because Wentz doesn't give you a significant upgrade over Heineke. I think he could possibly give them doesn't upgrade, but he's not a significant upgrade. Unless you're getting a significant upgrade in the guy, what's the point in even making the trade? So that's what I think of this one. Unique to say the least. But Wentz heads to Washington. And this is another interesting one. The Dallas Cowboys had announced that they are going to release Amari Cooper. They announced intentions to release Amari Cooper. But the Browns had other ideas in mind. They wanted him. And so they said, hey, let's make a trade. No, don't release him. We'll take him off your hands. So Dallas said, all right. They send Amari Cooper to the Browns and their own 6th-round pick in return for the Browns' 6th-round pick and then a 5th-round pick. All those picks in 2022. For Cleveland, this is an A. You need a wide receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. is gone. He obviously was a locker room hazard. He did not do. He was a problem in Cleveland. He was not playing well. I don't even think he wanted to play in Cleveland, and so he finally left. And I think that leaves the Browns in a way better position than they were in before when they had him. And Jarvis Landry, who knows if even he will come back. He, I think, is a free agent. I don't think the Browns will even end up signing him. But they also have Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think Amari Cooper is a perfect guy to bring in. Very much in the prime of his career. Still is a very good wide receiver. And you give up nothing to get him. And that still leaves an option open for you to draft another wide receiver. And you have Amari Cooper, your rookie receiver, and DPJ. That's a solid core. So I think Cleveland's going to be making over that receiving core, but this is definitely a great start to that brand new receiving core. And I think Amari Cooper will go very well with Cleveland. And then for Dallas, this is an F. This is a terrible deal. You give away a good receiver. You had a great trio of wide receivers. You prioritized Michael Gallup, who tore his ACL, over Amari Cooper, who's a significantly better player. I don't understand this whatsoever. And on top of trading away Amari Cooper, you get nothing in return. This is stupid by Dallas. I don't know what they were thinking. This is absolutely absurd. Horrible deal by the Cowboys. And we go to the next one, which is another interesting deal. The Chicago Bears would deal away Khalil Mack to the LA Chargers for a 2023 6th-round pick and the Chargers' 2nd-round pick. I mean, they at least got for the Bears. I'm giving them like a D plus because I think they should have gotten a lot more on Mack. They should have been able to get a 1st-round pick on Khalil Mack. I mean, you got a 2nd, which I guess I'll put him at a C minus. Actually, I mean, at least you got a 2nd out of it, but I mean, that's you gave away like 2 1st-round picks when you traded for Khalil Mack. You end up getting a 2nd in return when you trade him away. That's a significant loss of future, and that's just a significant sunk cost there. For the Chargers, this is an A minus. This is an A. You get Khalil Mack, one of the best defensive players there is. Guy is still playing his best football. He's looked very good, and you add him to a already scary looking defense. And who knows, you might end up drafting Jordan Davis to plug the middle of that defensive line. It just that is going to create a devastating defense for the Chargers, and AFC West has been just wildly improving this offseason. Been absolutely crazy. They weren't the first team to improve, but it was. But they were one. They weren't the first team to improve. Others did before them, and then we have a swap here between the Colts and the Raiders. As the Raiders would send away, really, one of their best defensive players in the last year, Unique Ngakoue, to the Colts for Rock Ya-Sin to the Raiders. I think this is a good trade by both sides. I mean, for Vegas, it's saddening that they'll lose Unique Ngakoue, um, but Rock Ya-Sin is a good corner. He is a solid overall corner, and the Raiders don't really have a great secondary, so he fills a need for the Raiders and for the Colts. Unique Ngakoue is a very good defensive end. He played well for the Raiders, and he steps into an Indy Colts who are looking for an edge rusher. So I think this is good by both sides. You know, this is normally how how trades are really supposed to look. Both teams are getting something they need. You give away something you like, but you get something you need in return. That's how it's supposed to be. But that's not really how all these have been. Um, and this trade, yeah, I am. Yeah. Let's just get into it. So Russell Wilson was traded. And the next one's a doozy too. But Russell Wilson was traded, along with a 2022 fourth round pick to the Denver Broncos. So Denver finally has their franchise quarterback. However, the Seahawks would get in return for Russell Wilson and their fourth round pick coming in this coming draft a 2023 first, a 2022 first, a 2023 second, a 2022 second. Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, and a 2022 fifth. That is a lot for Russell Wilson. And I'm the Seattle fan here, so I am absolutely heartbroken that Seattle ended up losing Russell Wilson. But I look at this return and I go, okay, as much as I am so sad that Wilson is gone, I'm really happy with what we got. So I'm going to do grades for both teams. For Seattle, I am giving them a B+. The only thing that's keeping it from an A is the fact that we now don't have Russell Wilson. But the return is absolutely incredible. You get 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a fifth. You get Drew Lock, who I don't think he's going to be the quarterback of the future, but he's not. I think he can definitely develop. He's still a young guy. He can still make plays. Noah Fant is a fantastic tight end. That was an incredible pickup by Seattle. Also as a young player, which fits the mold for Seattle, even though they say they're not in a rebuilding phase. They are in a rebuilding phase. You just trade away your franchise quarterback, and then you release Bobby Wagner like 2 seconds later. Don't tell me you're not rebuilding. You are rebuilding. Just admit it. But Noah Fant, that's an incredible tight end. He's a young guy. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Outstanding deal. And then you get Shelby Harris, who, I mean, he's an experienced defensive tackle. He can make plays. I mean, he was good for Denver. So I give Seattle a B+. They don't have Russell Wilson, but the return they got is more than enough. I mean, you could not have asked for a whole lot more. For Denver, I'm keeping it as I'm going to say a B- for Denver. The only thing not keeping it is C, they have Russell Wilson. But then you look at what they gave up, and they are really putting their future into Wilson. And he is a great quarterback. And I mean, since they're looking at Aaron Rodgers before they got Wilson, I think this is a significant upgrade. And this is not just because I love Russell Wilson. And I do love Russell Wilson. So if you're a Denver Broncos fan, I will be. I'll be rooting for you guys this year because I love my Russell Wilson. I probably will still root for Seattle too, but I love Wilson. I will follow Wilson wherever he goes. Um, but for Denver, Wilson is a significant upgrade to me compared to Aaron Rodgers. Now, Rodgers, he is obviously outstanding on the field. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. I mean, he's a great quarterback. I'm not going to ever tell you he is not a good quarterback. He probably is one of the best quarterbacks that the game has seen. I mean, there's a lot of great quarterbacks, but I think the guy is certainly one of the best we've seen in the game. But the thing for Rodgers is the guy is he's a knucklehead. He's an idiot. he does stupid stuff. He's about himself. He's not really about the team. You're gonna see what it costs Green Bay to bring him back after all the mess they've given Rodgers. But he's a media hazard. He's a locker room hazard. He doesn't bring. He's just a great player, but he doesn't necessarily bring all the guys around him up with him. Wilson definitely does that. He is an outstanding player, and he is a motivator. He is a leader, and that is something that Aaron Rodgers definitely is not. So I think for Denver, between those two, I would 100% take Wilson. He also can move. He is mobile. Aaron Rodgers is not. He would not survive with an offensive line that isn't necessarily as good as Green Bay's. Wilson can, though. I mean, he's been in Seattle all these years. That should tell you enough. But I mean, Wilson can move, and I really think that Denver's offense may not be as potent as Seattle's, but it still is a solid team with good players. So yeah, I think Denver is, and with the already great defense, I think Denver's in a very good position to be in some competition in next year. This is another bomb that got dropped right after this one. So after Aaron Rodgers, yeah, speaking of the devil, Aaron Rodgers, of course, was obviously the Packers want him back. They're practically begging the guy to come back. He ended up signing a extension with Green Bay. However, it was 3 years, $150 million. So do the math. That's $50 million a year for your 38, 39-year-old or 38, I think, 38-year-old quarterback. Devonte Adams was going to be a free agent that year. So Green Bay ended up franchise tagging him, which many people thought, oh, okay, well, that solves that issue. Well, apparently not. Because I don't know if it was Adams who requested the trade. I think he did. But Green Bay trades Devonte Adams to the Raiders for a first and a second in this coming draft. What? I mean, this is a crazy deal. First of all, I'm just going to go to the Raiders, A+. I don't care what they gave up. You gave up 1 first and 1 second in this year's draft, and that's it? Dude, A stinking plus for the Raiders. You pair what has been one of the best receivers in the NFL with his former teammate in college and Derek Carr. Oh my gosh. The Raiders are jumping up and down right now. Vegas is partying, baby. The Devonte Adams being with the Raiders gives their receiving core an automatic upgrade, and they will still have Hunter Renfrow, who's a very good route runner. This automatically boosts the Raiders' offense by a significant margin. And then for Green Bay, this is D. The only reason this is not enough is because you got a first and a second in this coming draft, which is still, I don't think, nearly enough for Devonte Adams, but it's at least something. And so, I mean, for Green Bay, this puts you in a very bad position because now, since this point, Marquez Valdez-Scantling has signed with the Chiefs, and we'll talk about an interesting Chiefs deal later. Um, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling has signed with the Chiefs, and the only other receiver that you really had that meant anything in that receiving core, you also lost Equanimeous St. Brown to the Bears. The only other receiver you really had was Alan Lazard, and he hasn't signed with them either. So you don't have any receivers in your receiving core, and you just lost your best receiver. So unless you plan on drafting 2 receivers in the first round or going for another receiver, I have no idea what you're doing unless you even, I don't know, maybe even try to sign somebody. I don't know what the Packers are trying to do here. Trading away Devonte Adams is not going to make Rodgers happy. That will only make him more irritated. But I love to see it. I am not a Packers fan. I hate Green Bay. So, awesome. Absolutely awesome. And then we have this deal. Oh my gosh, Cleveland. uh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Whoops. Yeah, they can't get a receiver. Never mind. So Desean Watson had been in trade talks, obviously, for a significant period of time, and the Browns, they had enough of Baker. Baker was not playing well. He struggled this past year. He requested a trade. They told him they're not trading him. He is staying in Cleveland. They don't care. But it was clear that was not gonna that he was going to get traded. He requested the trade. He was going to get traded eventually. They weren't going to stop it. And so they got in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They were there with the Falcons and the Panthers and the Saints and somebody else. I think Seattle wanted Watson. I remember. Seattle wanted Watson, and so all these teams are going after him. Seattle pulls out. Miami had been talked about obviously for a while. They didn't end up getting him. Cleveland was in there. They were told they were out. The Falcons were told they were out. The Panthers were told they were out. And oh no, the Falcons were never told. The Panthers were told that they were out. And then Houston changed course. They signed Watson to the Browns. The return over here for Watson is a really unique one because obviously Watson before his 22 lawsuits for before he got 22 lawsuits thrown at him for sexual assault by 22 women. He was 100% worth this kind of return. But he has 22 lawsuits now. And while he will not have any criminal charges, and I think another court said no criminal charges either, even though he's not going to get any criminal charges, the NFL is still doing their own investigation and very well could suspend him for a significant period of the year, maybe even more than just this year. Not to mention the fact that Watson hasn't even played for the past year because this has been going on for so long. So, Cleveland, just going over the trade, Cleveland gives the Texans 3 first-round picks this year, next year, and in 2024. They give up 2 fourth-rounders this year and in 2024, and a third-rounder in 2023. They get Watson, the 2024 6th-round pick. For Houston, A+. You get rid of Watson. You finally are done with that major league distraction on your team. The team is a gigantic mess, but getting rid of Watson, finally you have gotten rid of the buffoon. He's now gone. You don't have to worry about him. He's not a Browns problem. and you get 3 first-round picks and two fourths and a third for a guy who maybe even not play this coming year. Best case scenario for the Texans, you could not have done any better. For Cleveland, this grade could be all over the place, but I'm going to put it right in the middle and give it a C. Because if he ends up playing like he did before he got in all this trouble and didn't play for the past year and looks like his old self, well, yeah, he's going to be pretty close to being worth it. I mean, the guy's only like 25, 26 years old, so he's still got a bright future ahead of him, too. And other than that, if he doesn't turn out well, he gets suspended for the beginning of the season. They did sign Jacoby Brissette just in case that were to happen. But if Watson gets suspended, he comes back, he doesn't play well, then this is going to look like one of the worst trades in all of history. So this is a very polarizing deal. It could go very well, it could go very poorly. But there's a high risk involved in this, and giving up that much for a risky player like Watson, that's a lot for my taste. But Cleveland made another deal after they, of course, they went ahead and got themselves their quarterback. They went ahead and got themselves Jacoby Brissette. So they had Case Keenum on their team, and well, they don't really have use for him, so they gave him the Buffalo for a 2022 seventh. The big deal. The Rams had an interesting one. They had ended up signing Allen Robinson, which kind of came out of nowhere. But they signed Allen Robinson, which kind of left Robert Woods in the middle of nowhere, as well as Van Jefferson. But Robert Woods specifically, who got hurt this past year, kind of left him in the middle of nowhere, and many people didn't really know what was going to happen with Woods because, I mean, he is a good player, and well, now he didn't really have now he doesn't really have a home because I think Robinson would probably go ahead of Woods. So the Rams decided to they told Woods, hey, we're going to trade you. Pick a place. We'll send you there. So he picked the Titans, and, well, the Titans ended up taking him, and they'd give the Rams a 2023 sixth-round pick. I don't think really either team I think the Titans definitely win this one because A.J. Brown, they released Julio Jones, who is still a free agent today. But they released Julio Jones, and they need a number 2 wideout. Robert Woods fills that spot greatly. And A.J. Brown is still a very good receiver, and he'll still be in Tennessee. So, good deal. Nice move by the Titans. And for the Rams, you got Allen Robinson, so you didn't really need Woods at that point anymore. So, yeah. Dealing them away was the only thing you really had left. And then here's another unique one. The Atlanta Falcons. They tried pulling a Lions move here. The Atlanta Falcons, they've had Matt Ryan for a very long time. And, well, after they had openly gone and tried to get Desean Watson, they told Matt Ryan, yeah, you go ahead. You probably won't be around much longer. After they had gone and pursued Desean Watson, they kind of put him in a position where they basically had to trade Matt Ryan, whether or not they got Watson. They didn't. We already went over it. The Browns did. So Atlanta ended up followed through. They traded away Matt Ryan, their franchise quarterback for the past 14 years. They traded him away to the Indy Colts. So they move on from Carson Wentz. Now let's go get Matt Ryan. We'll send the Falcons a 2022 third-round pick. For Atlanta, this is really disappointing. You didn't get much in return for your friend. For the Lions, I mean, you could not have done better. You got 2 firsts, you got a third. You did fantastically in that deal. For Atlanta, you got for Atlanta, you got really nothing. You got a third round pick for your franchise QB. It leaves you with a massive amount of dead money on your team as well. So it restricts you from really being able to do all that much. I think Atlanta's becoming a new Houston. They're just a gigantic mess. Ever since they blew their massive Super Bowl lead, this team has never been any good. But Atlanta is just really a joke right now. And they'll continue to look like it the more they do stupid stuff like this. For Atlanta, I rate this really a D. This is a stupid deal. Leaves you with a significant amount of dead money, and there's not really a whole lot you get out of it either. So, not a good trade. For Indy, I give him an A. I'll say A minus. Because Matt Ryan, he is older, and he isn't necessarily what he was a couple years ago, but he is still a very good quarterback, worth a lot of money, but he is a very good quarterback, and he is experienced. He's good. He's a very good quarterback, and he's definitely someone you can have for a couple years before you finally can go and find yourself your permanent replacement. So I like this deal for Indy. Also low cost. You end up only giving up a third round pick for him. Fantastic trade. Um, yeah, fantastic move by Atlanta. Or I'm sorry, by Indy, by the Colts. Very good job by the Colts in this one. And then we have a really interesting one here. So we had already gone over the Raiders deal where they upgraded, the Chargers deal where they upgraded, and the Broncos deal where they upgraded. What do the Chiefs do to counteract all this? They downgrade. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But Tyreek Hill ends up being traded away by the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins for a first, a second, a fourth. I don't know why it says a zeroth. I think that's supposed to be a fifth, and then a sixth round pick. Uh, Fifth and sixth in next year, first, second, and fourth all in this year. So Tyreek Hill is a very good receiver. He brings another speedy receiver to Miami's offense that already has Jalen Waddle. So I like this deal for Miami. It gives them a significant upgrade on offense. Good move by the Dolphins to go ahead and get themselves a top of the line receiver. The only thing I don't like about this deal is they gave up a lot to go and get him, and honestly, Tyreek Hill, the biggest thing about Hill is he is a speed receiver. And speed receivers, the older they get, the slower they get. And so, how much longer will that speed, his top of the end speed, how much longer will that last? No, it could last for a significant period of time, but who knows? And so, it's definitely a risk, I think, for the Dolphins, but I mean, if you're looking to win right now, then definitely that'd be a decent deal. And then for the Chiefs, I give them a D. For Miami, I'll give them a B for this one. For the Chiefs, I give them a D because Tyreek Hill was a big part of your offense, and now you trade him away when the rest of your division is just like upping themselves dramatically. I don't get what the Chiefs are doing here. Yeah, you get 5 picks, which is why this is not an F, because you got a crap ton of picks in return for the guy. So you have draft capital now, but there isn't really anyone who's going to replace Tyreek Hill, and that's the big problem here. As much as you got a good return for Tyreek Hill, you're not going to find anyone that's going to replace him. And yeah, you sign Marquez, Valdez, Scantling. I don't like Scantling. The only reason he was like somewhat decent is because of Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's that special. And then Juju Smith-Schuster. Both of those two are obviously speedy receivers. But Valdez Scantling, I think he's significantly overrated. And then Juju Smith Schuster gets hurt way too much, and he doesn't really stand the field all that much either. So I think for the Chiefs, you go from Tyreek Hill to Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Also, Byron Pringle's gone. Demarcus Robinson is gone. And you only still have Mecole Hardman. So I think it's likely the Chiefs could end up going and drafting themselves a wide receiver. But I think this is a huge loss for Kansas City. And for Miami, it's a good upgrade. But I don't know how much longer Hill is going to have that top end speed. He's now 28 years old. It could diminish in the next few years. But if they can get to the Super Bowl while they still have him at his top end speed, well, great. But that's all I have for this one. I want to go over all the trades that have happened since this point. And as of today, there has not been any trades just yet. So this is definitely going to be a very fun season, I think. Obviously, the draft coming up here the next month here. Actually, a month from today, I think, is when it starts. But it's definitely going to be a fun year. I'm looking forward to a fun year of some fun football, some good football, man. I'm really excited for this year. We'll see how it goes, but let's hope for the best, right? All right. I'll come back to you probably with an NBA episode at some point. I don't really know when I'm going to come up with that. Probably right before the playoffs start. I'll probably, right when the playoffs begin, I'll make all my picks at the beginning. Because I haven't done an NBA episode in a while, and that's more of Stravinsky's stuff. I haven't really paid attention to the NBA. The only time I started paying attention to the NBA is when NCAA basketball finally comes to an end, because at that point, baseball's just starting up, and the NBA is just finally winding down. So that's what I start watching at that point. So that's all I got for this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Adios, everyone.